Power does not announce itself, because it does not need witnesses to exist. The loudest presence in a room is often the most fragile. Real authority moves differently. It does not seek validation through explanation or repetition. It simply occupies space with composure. And composure, when consistent, becomes influence without performance. Most people associate power with dominance through sound, strong words, fast reactions, visible control. But the nervous system reads stability long before it listens to language. When someone remains still under pressure, the body interprets that stillness as regulation. Regulation signals control, and control signals hierarchy. Silence becomes uncomfortable only for those who rely on response. When you stop reacting immediately, you interrupt the pattern others expect. That interruption creates psychological tension, and tension shifts dynamics. The person who controls the tempo of a conversation controls its direction. Power that needs to be explained is often insecurity dressed as confidence. The need to clarify every intention is rooted in the fear of being misunderstood. But real authority tolerates misunderstanding. It does not rush to correct perception because it is not dependent on it. When you stop explaining yourself, you conserve energy. Energy that is not spent defending identity becomes internal strength. People feel that shift immediately. They may not articulate it, but they sense it. Contained energy alters posture, eye contact, pacing, and breath, all of which communicate more than speech. There is a neurological reason silence feels powerful. The brain constantly predicts outcomes. When someone is highly reactive, they are predictable. Predictability lowers perceived status. But when someone remains measured and unreadable, prediction becomes difficult. Difficulty increases attention. Attention is a form of currency. The less you chase it, the more valuable it becomes. When your presence does not depend on external approval, others begin adjusting to your pace instead of the other way around. That is subtle dominance, not imposed, established. Silence is not suppression. Suppression hides emotion out of fear. Silence chooses timing out of awareness. One is reactive, the other is strategic. Strategic restraint communicates emotional control. Emotional control is interpreted as strength by the nervous system of others. In social environments, the person who speaks least but with precision often holds more weight. Words that are scarce are processed more carefully. Scarcity increases perceived value. This is not manipulation. It is cognitive bias. When you remove the urgency to be understood, something changes in your physiology. Breathing slows, posture stabilizes, micro-movements decrease. The body aligns with internal certainty, and certainty without noise feels intimidating to those who rely on constant reassurance. Most people reveal their need for control through over-explanation. They fill silence because silence exposes insecurity. When you allow pauses to exist without rushing to soften them, you demonstrate tolerance for discomfort. And tolerance for discomfort is one of the clearest markers of psychological strength. The brain is constantly scanning for social hierarchy. It does not only listen to words. It measures reaction speed, vocal tone, eye movement, posture. When someone does not rush to defend themselves, the nervous system of others registers composure. Composure signals internal authority. There is a difference between being silent because you are afraid and being silent because you are observing. Fear-based silence collapses posture. Observational silence sharpens it. One shrinks. The other studies. And study creates leverage. When you observe instead of react, you gather information others are leaking. Emotional people reveal patterns. Impulsive reactions expose vulnerabilities. Silence allows you to see structure, while others are busy expressing emotion. In many environments, the loudest person appears dominant only temporarily. Over time, inconsistency erodes credibility. Stability, however, compounds. The person who remains measured becomes the reference point in the room. Authority is not created through intensity alone. It is created through controlled intensity. Controlled intensity means you choose when to speak, how much to reveal, and when to withdraw. Withdrawal at the right moment shifts power more than confrontation. The nervous system equates unpredictability with potential threat. When your reactions are rare but deliberate, they carry more weight. Scarcity of response increases psychological impact. This is why silence feels heavy in certain people. It is not empty. It is contained awareness. Contained awareness makes others hyper-aware of themselves, and self-awareness under pressure can feel like exposure. Exposure creates vulnerability. When others feel vulnerable around you, they interpret it as your strength. Not because you attacked, but because you did not need to. True power is not loud because it is not negotiating. It does not ask to be respected. It behaves as if respect is already assumed. When you operate from assumed respect rather than demanded respect, your physiology changes. Your movements slow down. Your tone stabilizes. Your pauses lengthen. These microsignals recalibrate how others position themselves around you. People unconsciously adjust to the most regulated nervous system in the room. If you are calm, others will either rise to meet that calm or reveal their instability. Either outcome clarifies hierarchy without a single raised voice. Silence forces others to confront their own internal noise. When there is no immediate reassurance, insecurity surfaces, and insecurity often attempts to provoke reaction. The refusal to react is what maintains control. Reaction is predictable. Stillness is strategic. Strategy requires distance from emotion. Emotional distance is not coldness. It is clarity. Clarity allows you to see when speaking would weaken your position. Not every truth requires immediate expression. Some truths gain power through timing. In relationships, the person who reacts less often holds more psychological ground, not because they are indifferent, but because they are not easily destabilized. Stability shifts dynamics. When one nervous system remains regulated, the other must adapt. Many conflicts escalate because both individuals are seeking validation at the same time. When one withdraws from the need to be right, tension recalibrates. Silence interrupts escalation. You do not gain authority by overpowering others. You gain authority by mastering your own impulses. Impulse control is the foundation of long-term dominance. When you respond slowly instead of instantly, you create space. Space forces others to sit with their own words, and often, in that silence, they hear themselves more clearly than you ever could correct them. Power that reacts quickly reveals sensitivity. Power that responds deliberately reveals discernment. Discernment feels higher in hierarchy because it implies choice. In social groups, those who speak sparingly but decisively are remembered. Excessive speech diffuses authority. Precision concentrates it. The need to dominate through volume is often compensation. True dominance is not imposed, it is perceived. Perception shifts when energy shifts. When you stop seeking emotional reassurance, people feel the difference. They may test you, they may provoke you, but provocation loses impact when it meets steadiness. Steadiness is not coldness. It is choice. It means you decide which reactions deserve your energy and which do not. Energy is limited. Every unnecessary explanation drains it. Every defensive response leaks it. When you conserve energy, your presence intensifies. Intensified presence alters posture and pacing. Others begin to match your tempo. That is influence without command. Influence built on regulation lasts longer than influence built on fear. Fear fades when pressure disappears. Regulation remains. The quietest person in the room is not always the weakest. Sometimes they are the only one not trying to prove anything. When you no longer perform your strength, you embody it. Performance seeks audience. Embodiment requires none. Power does not speak because it does not negotiate its existence. It assumes its position. An assumption changes perception. People respond to what you project internally before they respond to what you articulate externally. The moment you detach from the need to convince, you enter a different psychological category. You are no longer seeking approval. You are observing patterns. Observation creates leverage. Leverage shifts dynamics quietly, and quiet shifts are often the most permanent. If power does not speak, then the real question becomes, why do you feel the need to? Silence reveals what noise hides. In the next episode, we will examine why control often disguises itself as comfort, and why comfort is not always freedom.